week on High Points, Spider-Man came out in the movie theater, but the SEC says Binance created a web of lies.
A web of lies?
That's right. CZ and Binance have been sued by the SEC. 13 charges, in fact. One of them goes back to Binance US, which was supposed to be a separate organization. One of the CEOs spoke on record saying that they were not actually running the corporation and that CZ was actually creating a puppet regime running it himself. And so once they realized that, they quit their job. So the former CEO of Binance US claimed they didn't know they weren't going to be running the organization until later after they were running it. Suddenly they realized, wait a minute, I'm not really in charge here. And once they realized that, they quit their job.
I quit!
So they're not being sued in this.
They are not, yeah. They're cooperating with the SEC on the charges that are being filed. I don't know if they were threatened potentially by the SEC with their own lawsuit or they will be sued in the future. But at this point, they're claiming innocence in the sense that they didn't know that they were a part of this puppet regime at the time.
Is that them trying to save their skin, or is that like...
I think that's a big question. But at the end of the day, if they're claiming that they weren't really in charge, I think, they might be in trouble for cooperating in that if it can be made clear that they were. But there's still this key character, CZ, who was behind it all.
But if you think about it, if they did quit their jobs, then that kind of proves in a sense that it's like, well, no, I didn't want to be actually part of it. You know what I mean?
There was a lot of turnover in that CEO role over the last few years. So there was a lot of wonderings of why, because everyone who quit didn't really say anything and they just suddenly weren't the CEO anymore. So now we're hearing what it was, that they basically found out that probably illegal activities were occurring and decided, wait, I don't want to be involved in this. I think the big bombshell here for me that not everyone's talking about yet is that a number of cryptocurrencies were listed as securities inside the document, and one of the complaints against Binance was that it was letting people trade these securities. But these aren't like random cryptocurrencies. These are mainstream top 10 cryptocurrencies in a lot of cases. And the SEC has explained in detail in this 136-page document why it believes that these cryptocurrencies are securities. It has a section for each one where it goes through that.
And what does securities mean?
So securities means that the SEC believes that this cryptocurrency in this case is something that would need to file with them and be regulated. There are typically different classes of assets. Some of them the SEC feels are in their jurisdiction and other ones they believe aren't. So like they've said that they don't think Bitcoin is a security. That means anyone should be allowed to trade that. But other cryptocurrencies, in this case, Solana is listed here. They believe that only people who have securities trading access should be allowed to trade those. And you should not be allowing the general public to trade these cryptocurrencies because they are not registered as they should be.
So there's potential for these securities to be kind of more regulated by the SEC. That's kind of the direction that it's headed for a lot of those cryptocurrencies.
So I'm not sure if all of these cryptocurrencies were ever mentioned before by the SEC to be on their radar. And definitely some of them haven't even been sued directly by the SEC for being traded as non-securities when they are securities. But there's a whole explanation listed here in the document about how these are securities. So it's really a big statement by the SEC, not just about Binance, but about this list of 10 cryptocurrencies.
So do you think like if, like let's say Coinbase supports like Solana, for example, I don't know if it does, but if it does that mean there's going to be fears now and be like, well, I don't want to support that anymore? Like, places
I would be shocked. I'd be shocked if all of the US cryptocurrencies exchanges don't immediately cease trading of these assets because the SEC just filed suit against Binance for allowing trading of these assets.
And those are huge names, so that's why it's crazy.
It's huge, yeah.
So then there's potential a lot of fallout to come from this.
So when we look at CoinMarketCap today, what we see is that the coins that are listed in the suit, specifically like Solana, like BNB, like Polygon, those ones are down more than the rest of the market as a whole. So it looks like the market is reacting at large to what the SEC put out. But in addition, it's a micro reaction on these particular coins as well, because it's safe to say that a lot of them won't be traded in the United States much more going forward. Without that US trading liquidity, it makes me wonder if they will stay in the top 10 cryptocurrencies. It'll actually be a really interesting test for these cryptocurrencies.
So what do you think this means for other exchange companies like Coinbase and other exchanges?
So they have two options. One, they can try to fight the SEC and not really respond to what's written in this, or they can show compliance by immediately removing these coins from their platform. Given that the SEC already seems to be on Coinbase's tail, it would be interesting to see how they respond and if they remove all the coins listed in this. Just because the SEC gives these claims that these coins are actually securities, we should see if Kraken, Coinbase, and Gemini respond to that immediately. I think that's the big question.
So as soon as one drops, the other ones, do you think will follow, or is it like a...
Well, it'll be interesting to see if they all take the same approach.
So there's so much more to the story that we didn't get to cover. If you want to hear more about it, let us know in the comments, and we'll be sure to follow up on this story and as it develops. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll see you here next week.
And we hope your week is full of high points. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.